What would it be like living in a nation that abandoned too much of its democracy? Poland, Hungary, and Turkey are good examples of nations that allowed despots to take over. It happened when a majority no longer trusted government or each other, followed by social disarray. Enter the despot with all the answers. Democracy shrinks, and a reactionary government takes over. It can happen quickly when citizens are not paying attention. Again, what would it be like? Unfortunately, it would be like living in Utah, on the edge of letting democracy slip away. However, instead of a single despot, the state suffers under the tyranny of an all-powerful legislature that doesn't give a damn about the will of the majority, nor does the power-mad state Republican Party that endorses this cabal of oligarchs. The three branches of government, administrative, legislative, and judicial, are failing to provide the checks and balances real democracy requires. The legislature has usurped the powers of the governor and limited the power of the Supreme Court. This grotesque imbalance encourages now all-powerful legislators to do whatever they want, even make decisions that should be made by doctors, scientists, engineers, educators, and other professionals. Convinced that they know best, these arrogant opportunists also take money from special interests willing to pay to play and pass bills often written by special interests who are members of the American Legislative Exchange Council. Despite taxpayer-funded salaries, legislators rarely, if ever, pass legislation the majority wants, like better-funded public education, gun regulations, and clean air. The result: students who do poorly in reading and math, a scandalous gun suicide rate for youth, and some of the most toxic air in the world. And those who continue to vote in these ethically compromised legislators are willing to tolerate their mind-numbing corruption instead of insisting on honest government and real representation. This cabal of greedy, self-serving oligarchs has also postponed funding existing public schools vulnerable to earthquakes that either need to be torn down and replaced or remodeled to comply with seismic building code. Instead, the legislators throw $40 million to inland port developers with no idea of how the money should be spent. As if that were not bad enough, they even propose a tax cut. Too many armed legislators, afraid of their own shadows, carry a gun strapped to their ankle and are, by God, committed to hold their ground. These are the same legislators who flipped off a citizens' referendum and gerrymandered voting districts, slicing the state capital into fourths, leaving the capital city with no representation in Washington. Worst of all, despite clear signs of climate change, they insist on funding a polluting inland port, building a railroad that ships only coal and oil, and a pipeline to a city famous for wasting water. And doing all this while genuflecting to the decade's king of despots, Donald Trump. If all this sounds like oligarchy, it's because it is one. So citizens of Utah, unite. You have nothing to lose but a pitiful excuse for democracy. Yet it's not too late. The framework is still in place, and it's time to win it back. But it can never happen as long as GOP libertarianism thrives. We need enlightened use of taxes, life-saving regulations, and honest government, a fully bona fide representative democracy.